Today we're talking about some little shortcuts that you can use to organize faster. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know one of my favorite things and one of my favorite sayings is to do something today that tomorrow you will thank you for. And that's what a lot of these little shortcuts are. All right, we're starting off number one because I'm literally in the middle of a conversation with a very good friend about this exact subject. And that is one, to really learn how to limit your clothes. Most of us have way more clothes than we need because let's be honest, it is way too easy to buy clothes. And I feel like in our mind, we think more clothing just means it's going to be easier. We're gonna have to do laundry less. It's going to be easier. I'm always gonna have something to wear. My kids will always have something to wear. But the truth is, it's just more to manage. It actually becomes a lot more work for you. Trust me, it is way easier to have less clothes and do laundry a little more than to have a lot of clothes and then have to do laundry less often, but you're gonna have way more clothes. I'm going to link a video down below where I really talk about how to minimize your wardrobe a little bit in a way that I feel like is super practical and achievable, not these videos that are like just throw out 90% of your closet, because let's be honest, none of us can do that. We start to do that and we get decision fatigue and we get stressed out and it doesn't actually happen. It's called backwards closet decluttering and I'll share it down below, but really try to focus on minimizing your clothing because it's going to make it easier to manage. It is less clothes in your closet, so it's easier to see what you need. It is less clothes in the laundry hamper. It is less clothes, it's less clothes to wash. Like a little social proof here, I literally just sent this to my friend as we were talking about laundry. I said, I also try to keep our clothing as minimal as possible. When it is wash day for my kids, they probably have like 4 things left to wear. I think that if you can get control of the flow of clothing in your home, the process of doing that is going to help you get control of the flow of a lot of clutter in your home. Another thing that I really love when it comes to clothing is the idea of never putting your clothing on the floor. I don't remember where I ever heard this the first time. I just remember this woman one time saying, my mom taught me to never put my clothes on the floor. It's just this like really simple little shortcut because does it really take any more time to put it on the floor than it does to put it in the laundry hamper? It takes maybe 10 more seconds to hang it up or to put it into the drawer. But most likely if you could tweak your brain to say, oops, clothing doesn't go on the floor, it is about 90% more likely it's going to end up probably at least back where it goes. By learning to limit your clothes and being really good about never putting clothes on the floor, you will really just find that it is easier to get dressed in the morning. It's going to be easier to keep your bedroom and your bathrooms tidy. It's just a very quick little shortcut to a more organized space. Okay, number 2, I almost cringe wanting to say this because I don't know how many times people have probably told you to do this, but it is to make your bed. It seems simple, it seems silly, but the impact is really massive. So my husband and I am the morning bird and he is the night owl. Is it morning bird? Morning bird catches the worm. I'm a morning bird, morning puffin. I'm like a sort of a morning pigeon if you want to be specific. And so this was a hard one for us because in order for the bed to be made, it had to be put on him. And I get asked a lot about like, what do you do if you want to be tidy, if you want to be more organized, but your spouse is not as on board? Here's the truth is that you cannot change your spouse. It is not your job to change your spouse. And also, while your spouse can do things to try to help you and make your life easier, it's not your spouse's job to be more tidy because you care about it. And I know that's coming off the wrong way, but just because a made bed matters to you, it may not matter to your spouse in the morning, right? So this for a little while was a battle that I kind of just had to let be. It was something that I couldn't really control because I wasn't the last one out of bed. And here's the other thing that you need to know about living with someone is you cannot change them, but if you do things and you're following certain things, your spouse is going to follow suit. As people say, you become most like the 5 people that are around you. You are surrounding yourself with positive, organized, successful people. You are more likely to be positive, organized, and successful. If you are surrounding yourself with people who are lazy, people who are negative, people who gossip, you are more likely to gossip, to be negative, and to be lazy. It is just truth, okay? If you're hoping that your spouse is going to pick up some of your good habits, it's not going to be by pestering them to do it. When they see you following good habits, they are going to eventually see the outcomes of this. So you focus on you and bettering yourself in your habits, and your spouse is most likely going to rise up to join you. I heard a really interesting quote the other day that basically talked about what happens in a relationship if one person has decided to better themselves. And he said like there's basically a couple ways this can go. The person who has raised himself up can either then force themselves back down to meet their spouse, which he's like basically never ever happens. Or 2, that spouse can choose to raise themselves up to meet the other one, which is what more likely happens if you're working together, if you're having open communication out of like respect. Same with your children. If your children see you taking care of your home, I'm telling you, it matters because our kids do what we do, they don't do what we say. So there you go, that's my little TED Talk about it. For many, many years of my life, my bed was not made. I wish that it was, I had to let it go. And I don't know what it was that sparked my husband to finally decide making the bed, but basically he'd started to make better habits for his morning routine. It is literally the first step that he does in the morning, and I guarantee he would tell you that like his mornings are so much better now because he wakes up, he knows exactly what he's gonna do when he wakes up, he makes the bed. And that, by doing that task first thing in the morning, you're sort of like willing yourself into motivation, you're willing yourself into productivity. And so it's just so much easier to then go to the next sort of good productive step. I find that it really sets the tone for the day. And for me, when I get to the end of the day and I'm finally going in bed and I am exhausted, it is so nice to be greeted by a room that is nice and tidy. You guys know that I love to preach the never go to bed with a dirty sink rule. That is my task. My husband does the bed in the morning. Every night before I go to bed, I make sure the kitchen sink is clean. I have it cleared out. And when I come down in the morning, I'm greeted with a nice, tidy kitchen sink and not a bunch of dishes in the sink. And a clean bed is that same thing. Like I said earlier, do something that later you will thank you for. You are doing this for later you. It is an act of self-care for yourself at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or midnight or whenever you go to bed to be able to go into that tidy room. Number 3 is to declutter first and organize after. And that is because you cannot organize your clutter. I recently tackled a couple of drawers in my house that had sort of just become junk drawers. I currently have a 6-month-old, and so, you know, I just like finally have come out of that like really early, you know, postpartum phase where like I feel like I have a little bit more time. And these drawers had just accumulated all sorts of stuff that I had shoved in there when I didn't have the time and I was sleep deprived. I took everything out of the drawers and I couldn't start by then organizing that stuff back into the drawers. I needed to address the clutter first. I needed to declutter first because I cannot organize clutter, and these drawers had a lot of random clutter. Just stuff that I had shoved in there because I didn't know what else to do with it, which is often what things like junk drawers and like random closets become. It's like something you're like, I think I might need this, but I don't know. It doesn't have a place it belongs. I don't have a need for it right now, and so it just kind of gets shoved to the side. You cannot organize clutter, so always start with the clutter first, so you are ending up just with the stuff that needs to go back into the drawers. Just because something was living in that drawer doesn't mean it needs to get organized back into that drawer. You need to say like, does this need to go in here? Like I actually, as I was doing this, I have this acrylic tray where I keep a bunch of kind of like random important paperwork, like check stubs or just like random tax papers that I got. I always will slide them right there because it's an easy place to go. I can, you know, get it filed away. And I went to put that acrylic tray back into the drawer and I was like, this doesn't need to be here. These are tax forms that I need. They're from like maybe last year, but I don't need them here. Right? Like in my dining room space. Just because I was storing them in that space before does not necessarily mean that's where they belong. I need to declutter first, and that was old paperwork that didn't need to be there. Okay, this next hack is drop zones, and I have been like kind of about drop zones for a while. Drop zones, if you don't know, are essentially you have places where things get dropped. So like that acrylic tray that I told you about, that is like whenever I get a paper and I'm like, this is an important paper of some kind I'm gonna need at some point, I drop it there. I was hesitant about drop zones for a while because I am a chronic pile maker. This is one of my biggest like organizing problems, is that I make piles. In my mind, I think I'm doing something, I think I'm organizing, but what I end up with is just a lot of piles. The drop zones make me a little nervous because I'm like, I don't want to just create piles. But what I find drop zones very effective for are things that you are using every single day. So for me, especially my kids' school stuff. So I'm talking about shoes, lunch boxes, backpacks, my keys coming in and out, my purse coming in and out, and their jackets in the winter, their winter gear, that sort of stuff. Drop zones are places that these can essentially be dropped so you can easily put them away. It's a place that they belong, and it's things that usually are getting like dropped on the floor. You're giving them a place that they go so they don't end up on the floor by the back door or on your kitchen counters, because let's be honest, that's where lunchboxes and backpacks and jackets always end up. This can be a basic hook. This can be a simple basket. This does not have to be pretty. This does not have to be Pinterest perfect. My hooks for backpacks and jackets and stuff are not pretty, but they are effective, and it makes sure that these things get put away. Next up is to always work on having less stuff, which is obviously easier said than done. And I'm not talking about minimalism. I'm just talking about being good about constantly assessing your stuff and asking if you really need this much of it. I could go back to my less clothing example. Do I really need this many long sleeve shirts? Do I really need this many pairs of shoes for my daughter? Because at the end of the day, more stuff is just more to manage. The more stuff you have, the more time you will take managing it. It is simple as that. It is basic math. I'm not a minimalist, but I do really focus on trying to not have too much that my stuff is now controlling my time. Whenever I feel like my stuff is taking too much of my time to manage, that's when I know that I have too much. I mean, at the end of the day, the less stuff you have, the quicker it is to tidy and clean the space. Simple as that, and that can be big motivation for me. I think this is probably why a lot of people like rage clean and rage declutter, because it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and then you're like, get rid of everything, I don't wanna take care of it anymore. My best tip for doing this, if you're currently feeling really overwhelmed about it, or you wish you could have less but you don't even know how to start, is to do a little thing each day. I always talk about my 10-minute declutter a day. Once a day, take 5 or 10 minutes, set an alarm on your phone. This does not need to be big or monumental. Pick one small thing to declutter. It is a part of a drawer. It is the top little section of your closet. It is just your kids' shoes. It is a shelf of the pantry. Pick one small, achievable thing to declutter. Set an alarm and declutter as much as you can in that 10 minutes. And you want to work on doing this every single day, because what it's going to do is start to make it feel habitual for you. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. A hard thing about decluttering is the decision fatigue that we get about the items. Do I need this? What if I need it again? What if I throw it out and then I decide that I want it? What if the person who gave me this asked for it and they're wondering where it is? But I spent a lot of money on this. Maybe I'll fit into it one day. I might use this can of cream corn that I bought by accident and I haven't used in 2 years, but someday I might. It's a lot of what ifs and maybes, and our brains get exhausted. But the more that you do it, just like any habit, just like anything, you can learn to get better at it. So this is why I say do it every day, even if it's just a couple of minutes. You will, I promise, start to become habitually better at decluttering, and you will naturally start to declutter in your everyday life because you have habitually started to become somebody who declutters more. This next tip is what I call my big 3 rule, and this is a super great shortcut if you are feeling overwhelmed and you need to tidy a space or organize a space and it just looks like way too much and you know you do not have enough time to do it. Let's say you're looking at your like main living space of your house or the kitchen of your house. It's the end of the day, you just want to go to bed and you're like, how am I even going to get this room back to normal in enough? And the answer is the big 3. So if you wrote out a list of everything that you needed to do in order to get that room clean again, you'd maybe end up with, I don't know, like 15 things, right? You're like, I gotta throw away the trash, I gotta put the dishes in the sink, I gotta put the dishes in the dishwasher, vacuum, I gotta mop, I gotta wipe down the counters, I gotta put away some of the appliances that are out on the counter, I need to go through that paperwork. You can make a list of all of the things that would be required in order to get that room clean again. And then I want you to identify the 3 that will give you the biggest impact. Very often about 20% of your list is gonna give you about 80% of the outcome that you want. So if you look at that list and you say, okay, throw away trash, clear off the counters, and put the dishes in the dishwasher, that's a pretty good start. Is it perfect? No. Do the floors still need to get mopped? Yes. But you did about 20% of the list and you got about 80% of the impact. And so this is my favorite trick when I don't have a lot of time, if I need a quick shortcut. And then lots of times you get this stuff done and all of a sudden you're feeling really motivated. Maybe you'll do some of the other stuff on the list, or maybe you won't, but you got a good impact from just a small amount of things on that list. A final sort of shortcut and or habit that I will instill on you is to think about what your list of non-negotiables are. Between work and personal life, kids, sicknesses, vacation, family, just all sorts of stuff, things can change so much from week to week, day to day, literally sometimes hour to hour. So I like to have my list of non-negotiables. These are the things that I make sure I am doing no matter what. And they're the most important things to keep my household running. So even when things get really, really crazy, these are like the top 5 things that I always do. Just thinking off the top of my head, I can tell you one is never going to bed with a dirty kitchen sink. I don't care if I'm sick, I don't care if I'm sleep deprived, I'm cleaning out that sink. I'm maybe not cleaning it really great, but I am cleaning that kitchen sink every single night. Number 2 is that I am moving the laundry along. I have an entire video about my laundry system, which I will link down below. I'm not putting away laundry every single day, but I am either switching a load or adding a load or whatever every single day okay, to keep that laundry monster sort of going along. Number 3, I do a flat surfaces sweep. Again, maybe I'm not doing it amazing, but I am doing a quick sweep of the living spaces in our house, in our main living area, and I am taking clutter that is out on flat surfaces and I am putting it away. Sometimes I'm creating my little piles. I am a pile monster, but at least I'm organizing. At least I'm getting it a little bit further. When I have my little pile session, when I'm putting them all away, now it's going to be a little bit easier. I'm tending to my flat surfaces every day, no matter what. Another one that literally has nothing to do with organization, but I will wash my face every single night. I cannot tell you how many nights I've gone into my bathroom and I am like, I'm too tired. I can't. I literally can't. Too tired to wash the makeup off of my face. But I force myself. To me, it is a non-negotiable. It is not worth the extra 2 or 3 minutes that I'm gonna get in bed to not wash my face. And one for me that most of you know about is that I have a specific wake time that I get up every single morning. To me, it's a non-negotiable. The only time that this goes out the window is when I'm in a newborn life and that baby is just basically awake like all night long. I set a wake up time and that is the time that I'm getting out of bed no matter what. I don't care if I'm sick. I don't care if I didn't sleep good. I don't care if my kids were up 5 times that night before, because I have found for me, and again, this is my non-negotiable, it doesn't need to be you, but I have found for me that an extra 20 minutes in bed isn't worth not having my wake up time when I know I'm getting up, when I can start my day, when I can start the flow and rhythm of my day. So there you guys go. Those are some of the shortcuts that I use in my life and in my home to just make being organized and tidy and just like make life honestly just like a little bit easier. And a lot of it at the end of the day comes down to little things that you are doing so that future you will be thankful that you did them. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to yourself and to others, and I will see you all in my next video.